Hey everyone, it's Rihanna and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the movies I watched in October of 2018. I have had the least spooky, least productive movie and TV watching month, but hey, here we are, might as well talk about it. So the first movie I watched in October was Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. And this one stars Andy Samberg. It's done by the guys in Lonely Island. I'm a massive Lonely Island fan, I'm a massive Andy Samberg fan, and I've been meaning to watch this for the longest time. You don't even know. So this movie is a spoof type movie. It's a comedy following this group of guys who are in a band, and the lead singer of the band, Connor, decides to branch off and have his own solo career, and it starts off really well, but his new album is not doing well, and it's just him trying to cope with his career dwindling and him wanting to reunite with the band, etc, etc. You know the drift. You have seen movies like this before, but obviously this is a comedy spoof movie, so it's a lot of fun to watch. Andy Samberg, as always, is great and hilarious. I wouldn't say this is a must watch, but it's just so dang funny, man. Like, love Andy Samberg, he's great. And as far as comedies go, like, this wasn't complete trash. As far as I know, most modern comedies are not good, but Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping was actually decent. So if you want to watch an actually decent comedy movie, I would recommend. Next up, I saw the latest from Sony Marvel, which was Venom, starring Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, who is a news reporter who is doing a story on this guy who's played by Riz Ahmed, who is doing experiments up in space with these things called symbiotes, which are creatures that have far better intelligence than humans, and he's very much for the takeover of symbiotes. And Eddie Brock, as with any Marvel movie, gets mixed up in it and ends up merging with a symbiote named Venom. The story just goes on as some sort of weird horror, sci-fi, borderline romantic comedy between Eddie Brock and Venom, I guess. It's just Eddie Brock trying to continue on with his life while having a symbiote connect with him and him running away from bad guys. And weirdly enough, I kind of enjoyed that. So the first half of this movie, everything that leads up to Eddie combining with this symbiote, I loved. I thought it was really great, really sci-fi, lots of great horror in there. Riz Ahmed was great. Couldn't really care less about the romance stuff between Eddie and Annie, played by Michelle Williams. Couldn't care about that. Up to then it was great. I thought, you know what, this actually might not be as trashy as people are making it out to be. But then he ended up merging with the symbiote and it just kind of all went downhill and messy from there. But I think if you accept it for what it is, you'll kind of enjoy it. There are parts of Venom that are really cringy and kind of hilarious, and I guess the writers just didn't know what way they wanted to take it. And nothing works in this movie, but it's still wildly entertaining at the same time. It's very confusing. But you know, if you accept Venom for being quite a disappointing, tonally confused, superhero, sci-fi, horror comedy, then you'll love it. It'll be great. The next film I watched is The Hate U Give, which is the latest film starring Amanda Samberg. She's having a great year. First of all, she had The Darkest Minds, and now she's got The Hate U Give, which was an incredibly powerful film. It tells the story of Star, who lives in a rough neighbourhood but goes to a school where she can be well educated and not run into trouble, whereas she would probably do all of those things in the high school in her neighbourhood. And one day she goes to this party, she meets one of her friends who she grew up with, he takes her home, and he ends up being shot by a white police officer. And Star, being black, has obviously experienced racism throughout her whole life, and she didn't think that she'd ever experience something like this. And The Hate U Give is about her coping with having seen this and her being a witness to a very serious crime that's getting a lot of media attention. And it's just an incredibly powerful film. It's an incredible story to tell. It needs more awareness just because, like, Amanda Samberg is amazing in this, and just the story is so raw and truthful and still happens today. The Hate U Give just really, really hit me hard. If I'm honest with you, I am still thinking about it now. I just think more people need to see this film. It was so, so powerful. I know I said I didn't have a very spooky October, but I did watch the original Halloween. Now, to me, watching old horror films that people say are classics and are super scary, they never seem to be scary to me because, I don't know, I've never experienced them back in the day when they were actually scary and new. Halloween does a lot with the camera work, with the tension building. It is so ingenious, but to me it wasn't scary. When I watch old horror films, and horror films in general, the characters to me just don't make sense because they don't make good decisions. But I kind of have to look past that and think I'm watching a horror film. It's inevitably gonna happen. And the thing with Halloween is that John Carpenter has made such an iconic film with the way he has directed it, the cinematography. It's incredibly made, and people have put homages to it in their films. And you know, when you've got a film like that that's that influential in modern cinema, you just have to appreciate it for what it is. I very much appreciate Halloween. It didn't scare me, but you know, I'm glad I watched it. It needed to happen one day. I haven't watched the most recent Halloween though. Maybe I should do that. I was kind of wanting to watch that actually. The next movie I watched was Bad Times at the El Royale, which I was very much looking forward to. This comes from director Drew Goddard, who directed Cabin in the Woods and has written The Martian and was showrunner for Daredevil, so he has a lot of great material behind him. And this tells the story of 7 strangers who end up in the El Royale Hotel, and each of these strangers like has a secret. It all sort of sprouts from there. This film stars the likes of John Hamm, Dakota Johnson, Chris Hemsworth is in this movie, Jeff Bridges is in this movie, so many famous faces, oh my days. And with potential like that, you'd expect a movie to be really, really good, but I have to say I was quite disappointed in Bad Times at El Royale. The trailers got me so hyped up. I thought the trailers were great, but the lead up to it and the whole big reveal thing just really didn't wow me that much. I thought the opening and the way they used the hotel as sort of looking into different rooms and seeing what people were doing were really, really cool, but the whole result of it didn't impress me. Technically, the film is great. The cinematography is great, the score's great, the soundtrack's great, the acting's great. I was very much impressed with Cynthia Avino. I was very much impressed with her. She was a fantastic singer. Very much impressed with everybody involved with this. I just think the writing and the plot let the film down. I feel like it could have been something great, and it was just something good. The next movie I watched I was also very, very excited for, and that is First Man, which is the latest film directed by Damien Chazelle. I love his previous films, La La Land and Whiplash. I thought they were great. And First Man is the first film Damien Chazelle has taken on that he hasn't actually written himself. And this tells the story of Neil Armstrong, who was the first man to land on the moon. And I saw this one in IMAX because everyone said, you know, you have to see this in IMAX. The moonscape looks incredible, and I have to say that was the only thing in this film that looked incredible in IMAX. Everything else didn't impress me. There were so many close-ups of Ryan Gosling's face and so much shaky cam while they were going up in the rockets and while they were doing the simulations for the rockets. It gave me a bit of a headache. The same with Bad Times at El Royale. First Man is technically amazing. I really love the cinematography for the most part, minus all the close-ups. The acting's great, but there were some things just let me down. For example, the score of this film was done by the same guy who did the score of La La Land, and to me, the score of First Man felt quite out of place. I thought the score when they were up in space was amazing. Like, it perfectly suited it, especially towards the end when they were actually doing the moon landing. But down below on the ground, when he was dealing with family situations and losing members of his team while trying to get to where they wanted to be, the moon landing, I thought the score was very off and didn't suit the tone of the film. I'm not a musical expert, so that's just my opinion, but it kind of let the film down a little bit for me. It's a very informative film, not so much entertaining, but you know, if you're into space, you're gonna love it. I mean, I'm wearing a NASA t-shirt. I have a star constellation tattoo. This girl loves space. First Man to me, technically amazing. Bit of a letdown considering he did La La Land and Whiplash, but we'll move on. Apparently I only watched one full TV show this month, and that was The Haunting of Hill House. Now I have a video on this. I will leave the link to it here so you can watch it, but if you haven't seen it and you want some background, The Haunting of Hill House is based around a family of 7, the mother, father and 5 children who move into this house called Hill House, and the kids are convinced it is haunted. And the show is basically told between two different timelines. One when the kids are kids living in the house, being haunted by creepy stuff, and the other one is when they're adults and we see how the events when they were children have impacted them as adults. I won't give away any spoilers here, but this is one of the most satisfying, horrifying shows I've ever watched in my life. If you know me, you know I'm not a horror fan, but The Haunting on Hill House was so good. It was just done so well. The cinematography, the score, the acting, everything was perfect. You can watch the show a million times and never notice things. Like, there are so many details in here that just blow my mind. So if you're looking for your next Netflix binge, I definitely recommend Haunting of Hill House. You will be mind blown and terrified. And the last thing that I watched in October that I want to talk about is Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the semi-Freddie Mercury Queen biopic. I'm a big fan of Queen. I wouldn't say I was a hardcore fan, but I grew up listening to their music. Bohemian Rhapsody was always on in the car, and I was pretty excited to see this. And I can fully say I loved Bohemian Rhapsody. I laughed, I cried, I sang along. I felt so many different emotions watching this. As much as this is a Queen forming biopic, it very much does pay attention to detail to Freddie Mercury's life. I was so unaware of all of it, and now I'm educated. I thought the chemistry between all of the band members was just perfect. Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury deserves Oscars. I absolutely loved his performance. He brought me to tears. Although it was quite annoying that he didn't actually sing in Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, he did such a good job lip singing, I didn't really care. And this film was just so goddamn emotional towards the end. I just could not hold it in. I am not ashamed to say I cried. I sung, I cried, I laughed. Oh god, Bohemian Rhapsody just done so well. I love the whole aesthetic, the costumes, you know, how elaborative Freddie Mercury was and how over the top it was. I just loved it. I can't help myself. And there is all of the films and TV shows I watched in the month of October 2018. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys have watched and if you've seen anything that I've seen. If you like this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I will be doing lots more videos for you guys very soon. All my social media links are down below in the description if you'll go and follow me. I am on Instagram, Letterboxd, Facebook and Twitter. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye!